Hey, hi everyone. It's Jen, Janine, and Felicity from Ready Together. And today we're really excited to be talking to Shane and Peter from Beaches Baby. Hey guys. Thanks so much for chatting to us. We just love what you're doing with Beaches Baby, offering, I guess, a village around parents. And we just had a chat before this call, and we were sort of all saying how it would just be so good if there was a place that parents could come and meet and learn and get what they need. And I wish one of these was on every corner in the world, really. I wish we could just change the postnatal space for parents. But I would love you guys to tell us a little bit more about how Beaches Baby came about and how specifically what we wanted to talk about today is the dads stuff that you're doing. And if you could also talk about how the dads classes came about that you're running.
Yeah, so we have two kids. We've got our Matilda, who's 3.5, and Angus, who is 8 months. So Matilda was born in New York, and in New York we had access to the most amazing places where you could do classes, meet other mums. It was all very friendly. Everyone got to say their name when they came to a class. And then we kind of moved back to Australia when she was 1.5, and we just found the places to be quite hard. Like the mums either already knew each other, or it was a little bit isolating. And we would turn up and you didn't really get to say your name or have your kind of connection, I guess, is the biggest part that was missing for me. So in all of our classes, we always have the mum say their name. We always talk about our high and low of the week. That's how we start every single class. And from there, we usually find that people have things in common and start chatting about whether it's sleep or feeding or whatever the issue may be. There's always something that someone has in common with someone else. So we're at the Harbour Diggers. We've got our own space, but we always encourage all the mums or dads to take their little group that they've just met in this class and go across, have a coffee and get to know each other a little bit more. So for us, the main purpose of this business, it's all about connections.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, connection, it's key to parenting, but as parents, we need that connection, right? To us. And then you know you're not alone doing it, and you're not the only one having this problem, and it is that hard sometimes, and all of that stuff.
Yeah, so from that we have our classes that do all of that, but the mums always just pop in, say hello, and often we find there's some underlying issues that they're not getting help with, and then we refer out to our referral network, including you guys and Felicity, who's taking care of a number of our beautiful mums that are having some feeding problems and getting through it, and it's just been amazing. So mums know they can come here, it's a safe space, and just find some help.
So incredible. And can you tell us a bit about what you're doing for dads?
Yeah, so Dad Club. So my husband Shane runs Dad Club. Shane is, before we had kids, he was the guy that didn't know if he ever wanted to have kids, and then now he's like King Dad. So it's been quite an interesting transformation for Shane. And then Dad Club was a space because there's nothing really around in that postnatal phase. So there's a few that kind of teach the dads. They come along to the prenatal education and they do all of that with their partners, but that's their like last piece of hands-on, and then the baby's here and they get forgotten. So we don't want dads to be forgotten. So we've created this program, which Shane can explain.
Yeah, sure. So obviously being a kind of a first-time dad, and I had a pretty good experience in New York when we lived there with other friends who had kids. And when we moved back, I didn't really know a whole lot of dads that had kids. So, it was kind of set up for me to get more friends that were dads as well, which is great.
Right.
What I found was, I feel like that there is a bit of a new wave of dadding at the moment. And, and we don't have a whole lot of kind of, history or role models to look back on. Our fathers fathered in a particular way, which normally meant being the provider, kind of being away. So, we really enjoy creating a space where dads come, they bring the kid, and we do an activity every week. It's for 6 weeks. And then we normally start a conversation about a particular topic. So we talk about very common things like, sleeping, eating, but we also like to kind of explore and discuss about our partners. And then also about, how do we want to be dad, and how do we find those role models, and how do we create kind of like a framework that's going to set us up to be the type of dad that we want to be.
Yeah, it's so incredible because, like you say, if that wasn't modelled in the generation above necessarily, I mean, some dads were amazing, but it was a different time, and you know, you're able to maybe be that role model for each other and kind of by just thinking about it, make a difference. So it's so good.
That's fantastic. And also a lot of obviously the dad's going to be seeing this and we want to put this out, the message out to them. And so what would your advice be to our dads who are yet to have a baby? What prep do you feel that they could do before the baby comes?
Yeah, you've got about 9 months, so you have time.
True.
But I would say that, you know, really embrace, you know, that time and that change. Become, I suppose, what I'd call like a dad nerd, or just invest the time. So, you know, find books. There's tons of books. Go to courses, classes. There's a lot of online content as well, but really just try and immerse yourself and invest your time in learning about what it's going to be like to be a dad. I'd also say spend a lot of time with your partner. The 9 months can kind of bring you closer together. You have to, you know, buy strollers and, you know, set up a nursery and all of this type of stuff. And doing it as a couple can bring you a lot closer. The baby is literally right there. So sing to them, hum to them, talk to them, do all the stuff that you might think is a little bit weird, but
cheesy, but it's cute.
Cheesy, but yeah, and I think it works. I mean, whether it does or it doesn't, it kind of gives you a reason to to do that. With regards to the prenatal appointments, turn up, support your wife. I will never be pregnant, but I've seen it twice. And it looks like it can be really enjoyable at times, and it looks like it can be really tough at times. Yeah. So I would encourage the dad to spoil your partner as best as you can, because, you know, especially the last trimester, it can be really tough, right? So try and lighten her load as much as you can, take, you know, as much of the load yourself as you can, and be there. Sign up to Dad Club, of course. To make, you know, your own dad friends, and just remember to celebrate the time. It really is amazing, and once it's gone, you kind of look back and you're like, wow, that happened so fast. So, you know, have a baby shower, do a maternity photo shoot, like lock all of that stuff in, and don't wait for the mum to do it. Maybe you can take the front foot and do that as well.
That's so beautifully said. And I'm also finding at the moment the dads are not able to often be in the antenatal appointments. So I've suggested to my clients to take the FaceTime, have dad there.
Good idea.
On FaceTime, so that they are part of the conversation. I love that. Thank you so much. And what about leading up to the birth and the role that a dad plays at that time and during the birth?
So I'll take this one, but it's really important that the dads know that they're that key person for you. They know you better than anybody. So I get asked a lot, oh, well, if we get a doula, will that kind of replace the dad? Like, I'm not sure about that. And I actually think it enhances the dad's role. So really having dad at all of those appointments and sorting out your birth plan together so that dad knows all of your preferences and your wishes, whether it's doing the breast crawl after the baby's born, or you don't want cervical checks, or whatever it is that you do or don't want in your birth plan, dad needs to know. And same with the doula. The doula knows and can support dad in advocating for you and really empowering the dads to make those decisions and help along the way. So for me, I think the more the dad knows, the better. So in the lead up to birth, like really involving them in all of those decisions. And then during the birth, I mean, they've got the physical strength. So really using them, like I needed to push against Shane quite a bit during the birth. So for me, it was like having that strength to push against. So they play such an important role in your labor, in how you feel, and just they know you better than anyone. So use that.
Yeah, said. Well done. I love that.
And what about once the baby's here? You know, what sort of guidance can you give women, I suppose, to what they can say to their partners about what help they're needing, or what the dads can do?
Yeah, so there's a ton that dads can do, I think, in that first few weeks. And the biggest one I always sort of say to mums is you really need to protect that bubble, protect that space, especially in those early days and weeks. And Felicity, this is something I'm sure you see all the time. But once that like working on that, establishing breastfeeding, if that's what you want to do, and really that takes being in a protected bubble. Mum's still really vulnerable. She might be recovering from from the birth itself. So really having dad to kind of say, okay, we're not really doing visitors at the moment, or only having helpful visitors. And then really just, you know, helping mum during that phase where you're vulnerable, you've got that lack of sleep going on, and trying to establish the feeding and all of that stuff. So really the dad can focus on cooking, cleaning, helping out wherever they can, and protecting that bubble. But then there's also the fun stuff. So, you know, the doing the foot casting, which we did spectacularly with Matilda, and then Angus it out and would only do 1 foot. So we've got 2 Matilda feet and 1 Angus foot. But doing stuff like that, and you know, taking all the photos and
take a lot of photos with mum and the baby, because I just find that you were so focused on them that, you know, it's kind of nice if I'm out here just memorializing them.
Yeah,
which I think is good.
Oh, that's nice.
One thing I think I forgot to say just at the start, and this is specifically for dads and something that pops up in a lot of my groups, is work. My opinion, take as much time off work as you can, set it up early, because mum's going to be 100% focused on baby. And, you know, the house still needs to be clean. You still need to order groceries. You still need like the admin of life. So effectively, dad's going to have to do that role. So yeah, take employers, if you hear me, take as much time off work as you can, and establish it early, and really maximize what is available.
Oh, that's such a good idea, and I think that's you know, one way of supporting dads as well, to know that is something that they can do, and something that can be really, really helpful, and that it's okay to take that time as well. You know, so what other things do you think we can do to support dads?
So the biggest one for me is trust them with the baby. So this supports dads, but it also supports you in a really big way. So I get a lot of mums come and tell me, oh no, I've never left my baby with the dad. And I just think that's such a shame. So not only are they missing out on that bonding and that one-on-one time with the baby, but you're missing out on that like time for yourself and that downtime.
Yeah.
So really, and do it in baby steps. I mean, the dads bring, like we said with Dad Club, the dads bring the babies to Dad Club, and for a lot of mums, that's the first time they've left the baby with the dad. So so for us, like we love that we can support the dads in that, and we've had dads that have settled crying babies, and we high five them. We're like, this is amazing, you've done it great, like good job. Because it is a big thing to leave the baby, especially your firstborn, and we were talking about this earlier, is that with your first, you're a bit more nervous, and then by the time you've had your second, third, fourth baby, you'll throw that baby at anybody. But especially for your first, it's really important, and it's so good for them to have that bonding time. So for you to get that time, but also just trust them. They're not gonna do anything wrong by you or by that baby. So it's for them. That's my number one thing. But there's a few others that that you might want to talk about.
Yeah, definitely believe in the trust one, and I would just say, you know, encourage the dad to stay involved. Sometimes when the baby's so little and so frail, you might think to yourself, oh, I'll wait till they can run and kick a ball, stuff like that. But I think the reality is, you create, even if it's not for the baby, even if it's just for you, you have the opportunity to create really good habits early on. And it starts when the lady is pregnant. It starts when the baby is 1 day old, 1 week old, 1 month old. So really, really get involved, establish those really good habits. So I think for the mums, just, you know, encourage the dad to really explore and ask him a bunch of questions, like, you know, what type of dad do you want to be? You know, we're all familiar with the provider dad, but there is, you know, the caring dad, the nurturing dad, the thoughtful. Make sure you kind of go through all of those different characteristics and give the dad the opportunity to say, hey, you know, I want to play that role, which, you know, maybe history has set that role up as a maternal characteristic, but maybe your dad wants to play that role, and just open up, have free communication about talking about how he wants the dad, how you want a mom, and how together you want to come together as a family.
I love that, because it takes that actually thinking about it, and then it takes practice, because you've never done this before. And so what you're doing there, where you're getting people to say it out loud, and then practice. You just practice, and then it just gets easier. By the time people have their second, third or fourth kid, it will be kind of a no-brainer. They'll be able to be that dad, which is awesome.
But also set the dads up for success. And we've talked about this before with this negative stereotype that comes out from, TV shows and books that treat dads like idiots. So it's
Yes.
that Everybody Loves Raymond character. It's the Homer Simpson character. And be the Bluey dad. And if you don't know what Bluey is because you haven't had your kid yet, Bluey is this great TV show where the dad's amazing.
Yeah.
So be the Bluey dad. But don't buy into the stereotype that dad's an idiot and doesn't know what he's doing, because
Yeah.
I totally
No,
agree
it's
with that.
not. I agree.
Yeah.
Just wondering, sort of, when you, Shane, when you're running these classes and you're seeing these dads through this journey over the weeks, what do you think is the biggest problem that dads encounter sort of in this day and age?
Yeah, it's work is the one that always seems to pop up. Yeah, and I don't have any solutions there. I would just say that it's a conversation that we need to have over and over again, and it needs to involve corporations, and so I think that's kind of the long game. But the short game is just take as much time off as you can.
Yeah.
I think that's the short game, and be, I can't remember who said it, but somebody said, be brave enough to, to say, I'm going to take 3 months off, 12 months off. If the paternity leave is 2 weeks, just say to your employer, that's ridiculous, and take another month or two off, unpaid. I know it might create a financial burden, but it's really just a one-off, right? And I feel like
you're never going to turn around at the end and regret a month off for the birth of your child.
No, exactly.
No.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I so agree with that. It's something we are going to talk about coming up in Ready Together. We're talking with we're going to be talking more about getting dads more involved with the parenting and sharing that, both the parenting and the workload, so that everybody can work and parent. And so, yeah, thank you for that.
And I just in times of COVID, this is the time that everything's changing anyway. So I feel like now's like everyone's proving that they can work from home. Everyone's proving as traditional as it once was. So let's take that opportunity and keep going with those conversations and keep talking to employers and keep going and saying, well, look, I've done it this long. My baby's coming. I want to keep doing it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I so want to be part of that conversation because it's so important.
So do I. I think that you hit on it there, that, up until your baby's around, 2 or 3 or whenever you want to start putting them in a little bit of daycare or some preschool or something like that, you've really got a great window of, a year or 2 years where, and maybe COVID has been our excuse that we can have a conversation now that says, hey, you want to work from home 1 day a week or 1 week a month or whatever that thing is. And it gives you time at home. But then you've got another challenge to solve, which is how do you work and be a dad? And I'll share that with you at Dad Club, but it's not easy, but it's achievable.
Good point.
So I just have one last question, and again, really for you, Shane, but I guess what I'm wondering is what you wish now that you've done all this work with dads and you know so much more about what makes it successful and not successful, I'm wondering what you wish you knew before you had your first.
Yeah, I think the big one for me is just how transformative and how fun it can be.
Yeah.
Peter, I think Peter shared before, I was the guy that wasn't even sure if I wanted kids. So if my kids see this when you're older, sorry. I wasn't sure. And in reflection, what it was is I was looking at the cost. I was looking at the cost of my time. I was looking at the cost of, my lifestyle that we had as a couple. I was looking at all of the cost. I just didn't look at the opportunity. And I think the opportunity is huge. The opportunity to, create a great little human, the opportunity to spend fun, playful, creative times together, but also the opportunity to potentially change your life. I changed how I work. I quit my job. I now work for myself. Like I almost had like a birth of me. So, I kind of, I transformed. And I think that is what I see as the biggest difference. So for the dads that, aren't sure, I would say, sure. Complete the human experience, have a little one, and totally rethink everything.
Yeah, fantastic.
That's so beautiful.
I love that. And it's so true. It's not a good financial decision, is it? But no, it's a love decision.
Best decision ever.
Guys, that was so amazing. Thank you so much for chatting to us. And, we'd love to do it again.
Yeah, we'd love to. Anything you guys want to talk about, we're around.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much.
Well, our Dad Club, if I can just plug Dad
Yep.
Club, next Sunday we've got a couple of spots left in our 0 to 9 month group, and then our older groups have still got spots as well. So online, beachesbaby.com.au. But yeah, and reach out anytime. We're always here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank
See
you
you
guys.
Great to see you.